Alright, on this update we work on getting the front end to do the full tilt mechanism. A lot of thought went into this. We didn't want something with chains or cables or anything like that hanging off of it, and wanted a hinge that didn't stick out like a sore thumb. Spent a lot of time kind of me and Dad going over different things and ideas, and ultimately we ended up coming with this. Just watched the video, it came out pretty good. It's a very clean look. It's kind of hidden away. It's not very obvious unless you know what you're looking for. But anyways, take a look at this and let me know what you guys think. Alright, here's the door I've been working on. You saw us cutting it earlier. We pulled it apart. No, we pulled it in down here, and we pulled it apart up here. We have some about 1/4 inch size steel rod welded in up here, just tacked in for right now. We'll finish it out a little later, but we're getting ready to try it on the car, see how it fits. Here's our door. As you can see, we got it really close. The door's just a smidge high there, but I can adjust the door. I haven't spent any time on the door adjusting it at all. I think we had the door on and off probably 5 times. See, it just fits a whole lot better. We're probably not going to do anything else with this because the other door's like that where it kind of goes in a little bit. So that's just how it's going to have to be for now. We got the door all done up. Probably can't see it in there because it's too dark. But it's all done there. Lines up pretty good with the fender now. And then over here we had to cut part of our cut one line in the reinforcement to get the fender to lay back in from the body because it was sticking out. And then when you push in down here, it would push the fender up here because there was just no give in here. It was just too solid. So I cut a line in that, and we clamped the fender in just a little bit, and that's how it lays without anything holding it in place. And this door here, fortunately for us, lines up with the fender, so we're not going to have to do any cutting on this door. So that'll save a couple days time. Obviously the gap is way huge. We ended up cutting the hood off this much all the way down because we had a massive gap over on this side between the fender and the door. So we left this fender alone. We have not cut this fender at all. We shoved it back to where we have a gap that we want. It's a little bit tight down there at the bottom, but we'll touch that up later. Got a good gap all along the back of the hood. And then this fender over here, we had to cut it off a little bit. This is the part of what we cut off of the fender here so that we could get the gap there. Because before this was past the door with the front end sitting square on the car. Alright, we got our hood and fenders propped up here for the front end. Next thing we're going to do is try and put some metal reinforcing in here. We'll eventually glass it in, run it across here, across there. Then we'll have our hinges for the full tilt coming off of this. And we're just kind of tinkering around, practicing, figuring what we're going to do. Piece of 1-inch chrome ollie, and then this represents a 3/4, even though it's half. Bend it here. We're going to have the 1-inch sitting all around here, and then we'll have the smaller stuff in the smaller groove here. So it'll sit like that in there, go all around this whole thing, and our hinges will come off of it. And this will all be glassed in after we get it made up. support around the grill to hold the front end up so it'll full tilt. Got some pieces set in here. We bent these to fit the concave portion of the grill here on the inside, and then we'll weld these together and these on there, and these are just separate pieces. And you can see there I ground a little bit where the fiberglass was sticking out, prevent that from going back all the way. So weld that on there, weld there, and then made these pieces here that'll go down into those tubes, and those will all weld together there, and we'll fiberglass all this in. And these are just representative of the tubes that are going to come along here. So I'm going to start working on these tubes here next, and then we'll obviously weld another tube on the end of that and finish that out to the end there. We'll have a piece here, stick it in there, and we're going to button that up there and welding it in. All this will be fiberglassed in, so you probably won't see any of it. Alright, we got one side tack welded together for the support for the full tilt front end. That's what it looks like. Kind of a little crude, but it'll all be covered up with fiberglass. Just lightly tacked right now. We'll fully weld it down a little later, but we just want to get one side set on there and see how it works. So, there, fits like a glove. Alright, here's our piece all tacked together that will hold the supports for the full tilt front end, which is lightly tacked together right now. Last couple days we've been working on ideas for making the front end tilt hinge mechanism. This is kind of a rough prototype here, made out of some thicker cardboard type material. We're going to make it out of possibly 3/16 or 1/4 inch plate. We haven't decided yet. We'll end up welding on to the support here before it gets fiberglassed on to the front end. And then we'll run bars like where that circle is down there, and then same way over here for extra support. That'll be on both sides. And then this we'll have to we had to get rid of our other jig to hold the front end in place, and we put this jig on place. This is actually tack welded onto the frame right now to help hold the hood where it needs to be. That's what we did right there. And then this will, where that bolt is, represent the hinge, and it should work like this. So that's our plan. We're going to try and make one out of metal next, although we'll probably have to put our bushing material in the frame first before we actually make this. Get our bushing material in there, let's beef up the frame and make the hinge point on both sides. Alright, so I got a washer located here, used a little bolt, made a point on it, stuck it in there so we could have a smaller hole that'll fit the drill bit. So now I'll start cutting the hole for the bushing. Ta-da! Alright, we got our bushings sitting in place. We're currently setting them up to have a little bit sticking out of each side. And then we're going to weld them here in just a few minutes. Alright, we got the bushings all welded in for the full tilt hinges. We're not sure yet if we're going to just put the bracket on one side or if we're going to have two. We're leaning towards just one on each side of the frame. Just one over here and then one on the outside over there. So yep, all welded in, ready to go. Now I gotta fit the hinge pieces on there for the tilt mechanism. Right. Transferred our aluminum templates over to the steel. Extended this out a little bit down here so we can run a support from here to where the fender and the hood meets. Just got done welding these brackets on. We'll end up running tubing from like over here to help strengthen it on both sides, inner and outer. Keep the front end from flopping so much. And then as you can see, it hinges good for the full tilt part, and this will all be glassed in. The front end you won't see anything but the brackets and the tubing coming off of it. Alright, so we're gonna beef this up to support a little better than just the welds here. So I bent some tubing here. We're gonna run them from here over to this bracket like so there. And then I have another one go from there to there, and then another one top and bottom here. So this will be beefed up real good. Won't be flexing around any, and probably a little bit overkill, but there'll be plenty of support. Alright, we got all our support braces tack welded in. We're going to put it back on the front end, make sure it still fits, and then we'll have to weld them up. And as we weld them, we'll make sure it still fits so it doesn't, because the metal tends to want to pull when you weld it. So we'll have to weld it the right way in order to keep it from pulling too much. Alright, here's the front end piece sitting in the fiberglass front end. We got it all welded up. We still got to do some grinding around all the welds to pretty it up. I got her clamped in. We'll clamp it in and put some fiberglass under the clamped area when we do it, and then wrap it around the top on the second step to hold it in. Alright, we got our support rods made up tonight. Welded our threaded rod ends on, 5/8 mechanical tubing. Looks real good now with the dolled up brackets. Now we gotta grind down the welds on this front piece here. Do a couple other spots of welding and then glass all this front piece back in. Finished smoothing up all the welds here, and I used a carbide burr on them, and then I went over them with a sanding roll to smooth them out, make them look good. Rounded all the edges off here. Everything's been made up, I think, like I showed last time. The next step now, we're going to find out where the really big gaps are around the fiberglass, and we're going to go ahead and pre-wrap the metal with fiberglass so we know it's going to stick once it goes down. Places where it's tight, we won't put anything until it's all wet, and then we'll stick this down on top of it, let it sit, and then we'll wrap the metal around it again so it'll be sandwiched in between the fiberglass. And we'll probably put like 3 or 4 layers around all the tubing once it goes down. So like down here we have big gaps. We'll have to fill that with fiberglass. We'll just shove it in there while it's still wet and fill the gaps best we can. I'm not sure if we're going to do this part or not. We probably will, but haven't decided if we're going to cover that in glass. But all the rest of it will all be covered in glass down here to hold it in real good. Alright, we roughed this all down real good. The bottom section here that'll lay in the front end with the heavy grit sandpaper. Then I went over with the carbide bit and just lightly kind of chunked it up. You can kind of see give it a heavy texture. Then I marked where there was a lot of clearance. I could run I had a piece of, let's see it now. Here it is. Used a piece of this and I ran it under all the spots between the fiberglass and the bars to know where I could have excess glass. So what we're doing is we're wrapping where there's a little bit of excess room so we can pre-wrap this And then when we set it down on there, we know for sure that the fiberglass will stick to the parts that have been pre-wrapped. So it's just a little extra insurance here is what we're doing. And also adding a little bit of filler right now instead of later. So I marked every piece here. You can see from there, clear over to there. Need to put filler from there, down filler. There, and just a couple other places. So almost halfway done with it now. Alright, we wrapped these in fiberglass last night. And now we got a layer of fiberglass underneath this on the top, bottom, and sides there. We'll put this glass in later since there's a big gap. Unfortunately, we are still working on getting our structure glassed in. Problem that we're having right now is it's kind of hard to see as much now since we fixed a lot of it. Like down in there, we're not getting, it's a radius around here and it tucks under. So the next coat of fiberglass is going to be hard to put on because it's hard to make it go in and then out and stay tucked in there nice without getting big huge air pockets. Did get the piece of mat here to lay down, but it wasn't easy, and we really need a fillet there too, so we'll probably put a fillet in. We're using fiberglass mat for the fillet. Along here it's pretty good, and all in here we got that fillet done up real nice. So I got to do some more sanding. See there last night where I did some more fillet work. Do some more sanding, then we got to do final 2 coats of fiberglass over the top of this after the fillets are all in. Finally finished up last night getting all the cloth put on. See, it looks kind of like a snake skin. Got some good overlapping there over the last layer. Help add a little extra adhesion. Right now everything has the second layer done on it. Come out real good, real happy with it. We have a layer of 1 ounce mat on first, holding it down. Then we used a bunch of fillet material down in here around the edges of the tube to make them less round so it wouldn't tuck in, so to have more of an adhesion area roll around instead of tuck in and then come out. So we've had several fillets put in around the tubing. And then bought some 2 ounce mat, which is twice as thick as the other stuff, and last night I put 1 piece on to see how it was going to lay down. It's definitely a thicker material. Overlapped it further than the cloth, and I'll continue to do the same here. I need to sand down all the edges of the cloth like that because I don't want to have it look clumpy and have lines showing on it. I like to gradually smooth it in. Still need to do the same down here. This is all not been sanded. Finish the edges out here, overlap the mat further out to have better adhesion. So my next step is sand all this stuff down, and then I'll start working on getting the 2 ounce mat on. Okay, we're in the middle of sanding the second layer down. We've been on it for probably 1.5 hours, 2 hours. We're getting close to being done with the sanding, and then we can go ahead and put the 3rd layer of thicker mat on it. Just sand it down a little bit to get the shiny off of it. Alright, we're working on getting 3rd layer stuff on. See there, just put those down. Those are the first ones I put down today. They weren't going on very good. They're wanting to pull up on the edges because it's pretty thick glass. Kind of perfected the technique of putting it on. We got it to lay down a lot better. This was the 2nd batch we put on right here, and the last piece there. So I'm figuring out I'm mixing the fiberglass a little bit hot compared to what I did the first time, and now we're going to rough it up and overlap another piece onto that there. So we're making decent headway. Alright, we think we have this piece all molded in how we want it. I say that because we never know till it's actually done. But the 3rd layer of heavier glass has all been put on. Last night we finished it up with, that was the last piece right there we put on. And today I'm going to try and sand it down to where it looks real similar to that. It doesn't take a whole lot to get to look like that. Alright, we just put the front end on after the fiberglass. We checked it. It does work, so I'll show you real quick. Got springs up here to help pull the fenders out. We don't have any stops on it yet. Alright, come on over here for the hinge setup. Still got to put a stop on it. Not sure if we possibly could put a hook here or something here to block it, but we'll get something figured out. It looks like it's going to work. That's good. Alright, well that's going to do it for this update. Sorry it took so long. This is about a 3-month process to get kind of finish up the door and get the front end all finished up and tilting on it. I think the next update I might show how we do the stops on the full tilt. It's a little longer episode than I wanted, but I want to put it all in one episode. So thanks for sticking through that. Also, this car is going to be drag raced. It will be street driven as well. It will not be a trailer queen. The cage is going to be certified. I've already had the NHRA technical director out here multiple times going over some things with him, making sure we're all good before this thing goes to any kind of paint or powder coat, and everything checks out to his likings. So anyways, keep an eye on this channel for future updates. I really want to put out more updates, but it's just hard doing it when you have a regular job and trying to keep everything going normally. So anyways, thanks for watching, and as always, please like and subscribe.